All right, I think we're going live now. Today is Sunday, April 26th. It is 3 p.m. here in Chicago. Hopefully, everyone's doing really well today. Today, we're going to do some foam rolling. Not necessarily a how-to session, but since so many of you guys were talking about how you guys like to foam roll while these live streams go on, I thought I'd join you guys too. Stevie76, yo, what's going on? Good to see you. Lots of people already in here. Good to see that too. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Let me know how your runs went today. If you went for a run, hopefully you guys had some good runs. The weather in Chicago is absolutely beautiful right now. Although when I went out, it was dark and a little bit windy, but right now there is hardly a cloud in the sky here in Chicago, and it is just beautiful blue skies. We got Cody Davis here, says I ordered a few things yesterday. That's awesome, man. Thanks for the support. Um, Jen from Moss is waiting for Kofuzi, a new existential play of our time. Um, Samuel Beckett's one of my favorite authors. Waiting for Godot is really a great play. So very, very flattered by that. Mr. Endorphins to the rescue says, yo, what's going on? Yo, what's going on? Mr. Endorphins to foam rolling class today. Yeah, it's 90s in LA. That's crazy. Guido Motti's here from Milan, Italy. Good to see you. Stevie76 says he had an epiphany on his run this morning thinking about Seth's observation that his Alphafly AirPods were not as bouncy. What if you could adjust the PSI of your AirPods like 90s Reebok pumps? I mean, that's interesting. I wonder if like it like the bounciness of the AirPods if they're tuned to Eliud Kipchoge's weight, or if they just made him like a certain level of bouncy, or who knows? Who knows what's going on with that? That's an interesting idea. I do love the idea that like everything is old is new again, and then you could like pump it up. I did have a pair of Reebok pumps back in the 90s, and I thought that they were fantastic shoes. Even though, I mean, what did they do? They just made your shoes tighter, right? And that's pretty much it. Um, a wonderful gimmick. I don't know how good of a shoe they were, but can you imagine if if you, like if at the time like they had somehow decided to ban Reebok pump shoes, and then now we're talking about like were the scoring titles of the 90s really valid because of the Reebok pumps? That would be like a really surreal conversation. Dave Borg had his first 10K in 5 years. Awesome. That's great. Good run. Guido Muti says, what's up? Before I get too much further into the comments, I will go over my foam rolling for today. I'm using this ball from KT. I was going to like try it and figure out a way to actually foam roll on the floor with you guys, but like the girls went crazy today in terms of like busting out toys. And so like our house, there isn't like space on the floor for me to sit on. I just spent the last hour and a half reassembling a bicycle. Long story. I'm not very good at that kind of thing, and I have a lot of extra parts. But so the house is a mess, so I couldn't do that. So I'm going to grab this KT ball. What this one is there's an orange ball and then a blue ball. The blue ball you put in the freezer, the orange one you can microwave, and you put it inside this metal ball that's in here, and it screws together, and then that sits inside this thing right here. And if it's hot, it's conductive because it's just metal. And so if the hot ball is in here, it makes it warm, and then if it's blue, it makes it cold, and then you can kind of like rub it into any like muscle that you want because it's the sphere like smoothly moves around. So that's what I'm going to do today. And then normally for me, when I figure out like how to foam roll or what to foam roll, I sit down on the floor and I kind of like just lean around and move around and feel like what's sore. Usually my butt's pretty sore, so if I lean back, I could feel like oh that part of my butt sore, and then I might like foam roll on that, or if like the back part of my uh, quads are sore, that or hamstrings are sore, then I might do that. And so today I know my hamstrings are pretty sore, so I'm gonna take this and just kind of like dig it into like the backside of my hamstring, and that feels pretty good in a kind of painful way. They're sore right now, not from any running, but because I've been doing some single leg deadlifts, and so I'm really getting in there. And so so here's like my hamstring. This is my knee up here. This is my hamstring, and I'm just going back and forth against it, um, like from side to side, like lateral to medial side, back and forth, and that's working it pretty good. And so I think part of that is a flexibility soreness, like I'm not that flexible there, and I'm stretching it a lot. And I think part of it is like the muscle is sore because I'm actually, using muscles that I don't normally focus on all that much. All right, so let's while I'm doing that, let's see what else you guys have been up to. Um, Guido Moti said he had an hour and 20 minutes and 45 seconds. That's a great run. Good job on the treadmill today, or hopefully it was on the treadmill. I guess it could have been like an indoor run. Stevie76 says the PEG 37s have different PSI depending on gender. So I wonder if we could adjust it I mean, maybe it'd be like the Nike for you, like the ID, instead of like it being about color, you could do it about like PSI. That'd be interesting. I think that it would be like like how would people even know what they want? I think that'd be a hard one to do. But if you know what you want, that could be real interesting. Adam Anderson says 15K PR this morning. Awesome. Christopher Colangelo says 3 miles easy recovery run before the rain in Connecticut. And he did 23 yesterday when the weather was perfect. That's awesome. That's a great way to do it too. You got the long run in on the good weather and then just some easy running in when it wasn't so great. Very cool. Um, Keep Verification says no. The Reebok pumps made you better at basketball. Duh. Of course they did. Catamounts FC says, have I run in any other Reebok shoes? I don't think so. Not in the last decade or so. So I don't think I have. Um, Zach Bag says he was watching West Side Story, and in the song Maria, I replaced the name Maria with Kofuzi. And if you haven't heard it, you should check it out. I'm gonna have to go back. I'll go back and listen to it. Demaji Brown's coming in from Colorado. Phil Neville is giving us a medical heart. That's cool. Mr. Endorphins to the rescue says, debating whether to go away for the 37 or the Cano 27s. Yes, two completely different shoes. Yeah, they are for sure different shoes. I mean, for me, I'd personally go with the Peg 37 because I mean, the Pegasus has always been my favorite line of shoes. Kivo says, what's up, big dog, LA? Awesome. Hope you're doing well in California. My mom's here. How's it going? Coming in from New Jersey. Will Gravel says, about to run 15 miles in 90-degree heat. Why didn't you do that earlier in the day? Oh man, 90 degrees and 15 miles. That sounds rough. Bartley Guest says, just foam roll on the children's toys. It'll make me tougher. Yeah, right now, what's over there? They discovered my wife's been doing some like kind of spring cleaning, and she found a box of like American Girl doll accessories that we had never given to my daughter because the parts were too small for her when we had gotten them. It was a food allergy set, and she has a food allergy, so we thought like it'd be cool if her doll could carry epinephrine, like she has to carry epinephrine. So we bought it, and we also just wanted to make sure that we supported like the set, so like American Girl knows that like there's a lot of kids that resonate with it. And but everything was like tiny, and she could have swallowed all the pieces, and she was pretty young then. And we just found it and just gave it to her now. So of course I had to go dig out all the dolls, which have not been played with in a long time. So, but yeah, so that's what's out there now. So it's like all sorts of like it's creepy over there right now. Sean Miller says, digging the new merch. Thanks. Awesome. Henry Jean laughing at I have a lot of extra parts. Yeah, there's a lot of extra parts. There's like a couple of washers. I assembled the parts in the wrong order, and so now there's no more chain guard on it. So yeah. David Sack says, I have that KT ball. He has the same one, this one that I was using. He doesn't use it enough. He loves it. Awesome. Cool. Let's see. Dawid DeRitter says, today's post talking about having to go to the toilet. I have to go every single run past 10K, have to take medication on long runs and when I'm in competitions. Interesting. Not even a different diet works. Yeah, I think mainly for me, it's my schedule's a little bit off. So like my body got very used to a certain kind of tempo, if you want to put it that way, or a certain kind of regularity. And then that's off now, but also my diet I think is a little bit different because I'm not eating out or eating out takeout, eating lunch on the go so much. I'm actually like cooking and eating real food. Demaji Brown says, talk about your mileage progression over the years. Yeah, so I think the first marathon that I remember running, I think it was the first one was a couch to 10K. That was a disaster in 2010. Fast forward to 2017, that was my next marathon. And I ran maybe 50, I topped out at maybe 50 miles a week in that progression. I was thinking I was averaging closer to 40. 2000, and that time was like a 3:43. 2018, I was running 60-mile weeks on average. Um, Maybe even close to 7. I don't think I was touching 70, but I was getting close in 2018, and that was a 3:17 marathon. 2019, I was running 70-mile weeks. No, 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 no. Well, for 2019, for the tunnel marathon, I was running 70-mile weeks. That came in at a 3:02. or 301.53. But that one has a big asterisk, right? Because that's a giant downhill race, 2,000 feet of downhill. And then later 2019 for the Chicago Marathon, I was down to 50-mile weeks, but a lot of speed work. And that one, I raced it really poorly. I don't even know what my time is. I think I came in at 3:18 or 17, something like that. Blew up around mile 21, 22. Me and my buddy Galen Rupp both kind of died at the same point in the course. Um, Not at the same time, clearly, but yeah. So that's what happened. So that's what my mileage was. And then leading into Houston and into Boston, I was running about 80-mile weeks, 70 or 80-mile weeks. Um, so that's been my progression. Cody Davis says, I think people say that the AirPods on the Alphafly are less bouncy because they're running in them every day. If they just raced in them, then the AirPods would retain their bounciness. That's true, maybe. Um, Guido Moti says, yeah, was racing indoor among friends connecting by Skype. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. He did an hour and 20 minutes, I think, today. Tony Bowen says, you ever work on running form? I hurt stuff whenever I experiment. I usually don't. Unless I mean, some people do drills and stuff, and that's, I think, a great way to work on running form. I try not to think about my running form too much. I tend to think that form follows fitness and not the other way around. And so, like, as you get stronger, your form will like naturally optimize, and you'll run prettier the more strong all the different parts of your body become. And some people never have a pretty gait. Some people have like just awkward gaits and it works out well for them. And that's just what's optimum for their body. And if you tried to make them run differently, I think it would really screw them up. And so like I try not to tinker with it too much. I know that that's probably a minority position. Most people probably don't agree with that. That's kind of how I'm on it. Ragnar says, hey, from Copenhagen. And sorry if it looks weird, I'm still foam rolling. I'm still massaging the bottom of my leg. So that's kind of what is going on here. Ragnar says, hey, from Copenhagen. What are your thoughts on Reebok running shoes? Seem like they've been getting great reviews. I think my suspicion is that they're highly underrated. I haven't had a chance to prove that yet. I think that they're still figuring out what they want to do with that brand. Because I think that they have an interesting foam that they're working with, but they've so far limited it to the Reebok line. Now, Reebok, the way that Adidas has been positioning it, because Reebok is owned by Adidas, is that it's their like CrossFit, like gym, treadmill kind of line of shoes, which is weird because that's kind of like how I would also position a lot of Adidas's running shoes, um, and even some of their casual shoes. So it's like odd that they've like kind of doubled down in that almost crossover category. But that's probably why I haven't been that interested in Reebok's running shoes because I just feel like they're in a weird spot. They're just trying to figure themselves out. They're trying a lot of new things, and so like the Reebok Float Ride Run Fast Pro, I know that was a very interesting shoe. I never had the chance to really run in it. But I just think like that was an interesting foray into more serious running. And the Reebok does have a pretty decent team. I forget where they're training now. I think now they're training in like in the South Atlantic, like North Carolina, South Carolina, something like that. Um, and they have a handful of pros that all kind of like live in the same area, or maybe they might even live together. I'm not sure. Um, and so like they're making some efforts, but it seems like there's like they're divided. Like I feel like they're getting some budget, but some people are not as excited about it as others within the company. Um, Eddie von Venom Brock says, what running shoes would you recommend for beginners? I would say pick a brand and find the daily trainer and start from there. So if it's Nike, get the Pegasus. If it's Adidas, get like the Solar Boost or the Ultra Boost. If it's Hoka, get the Clifton. Saucony, get a Kinvara or maybe the Ride. And then New Balance, you're looking at the Beacon and who have I missed anyone? Yeah, so that's kind of like how I would approach it. Like that'll give you a good sense of like those are just good kind of like general shoes. It also gives you a good sense of the brand, whether you want to try more shoes from that brand as well. At least a good daily trainer should. And so it should be kind of like this, probably not the most exciting shoe in the line, but I would say the standard bearer. Um, Goku Runner says, is a power meter sensor something every runner should have? I don't think so. I don't think every runner should have it. I think for most runners, uh, I think having a phone with some sort of way of playing music, and if you get a GPS on that, that's probably enough. If you want to go up from like graduate from the phone, then I would say like wrist-based GPS, I think is a good option. And then after that, I'd probably go heart rate monitor before I would go with power meter. Um, but if you don't want to do the heart rate monitor and then power meter, I think it's a good invest. I really like it. But if I were just kind of like, if I ran in the suburbs all the time, I probably wouldn't get one. But if because I run in an urban area and sometimes like running through downtown, the GPS gets really crazy. Having the power meter is useful for me. But if I also did a lot of hill climbing and I wanted to kind of figure out a way to understand my efforts, regardless of incline, then I think a power meter makes sense. So those I think are the people that really need it. I probably don't need it, but I have one and I run with it every single run. Luis Claudia Costas coming in from Brazil. How's it going? Ultra Dad says, "What's up, Kofuzi? Love the channel and watching from Cincinnati." That's awesome. I have a special place in my heart for Cincinnati. That's where I met my wife. So she's not from there and I'm not from there, but we met there. Jen from Waugh says, very windy in southeast Michigan this morning. Did a quick 4 miles, but glad you got out there. Awesome. I wonder if you guys are going to hopefully get some of this nice weather we're having now pretty soon, because right now it's beautiful here. Marcelo Lopez says, hi from Brazil. What's going on? Blitzoff is coming in from Australia. Super cool. Where it is Monday night, Monday morning. I don't know. It's tomorrow somewhere for you. um, Steve saying hi to my mom. Steve saying hi to my mom, and he asks me, was I a good kid growing up? Did I get in trouble much? No, I didn't get in trouble very much. Uh, I was a pretty independent kid, and I just kind of kept to myself. And I had an immense desire to please authority. At least I did growing up, and so like bucking authority was something that didn't really resonate with me. Running with Pete says, Yo, Kofuzi, love the Kuvara 10s and looking forward to trying the 11s. 103 degrees in Phoenix. That is really hot. And it is, yes, too soon for it to be that hot. That's crazy. I can't even imagine that right now. But right now, like, it's really sunny in the apartment. And like this time in the afternoon when the sun hits, we got a lot of windows, so it gets hot. And right now I'm kind of warm. So like I feel like every time someone mentions the heat, I feel it. Um, let's see. Um, W. Fern says coffee early in the morning puts it all out of the system, and he runs fasted 90% of the time. That's how I usually am, but I think lately I've tried not having coffee in the morning, and then also having coffee in the morning, and in both cases it's just like the same result. About 5 miles in, I gotta take a break. Um, so well, I don't know. My body will figure itself out. Goku Runner says, are there any shoes you just can't run in? Usually stability shoes. I think that I've been having a little bit of like what feels like shin splints in my knee lately. And I think it's because it might be because of the Freedom 3s and or the glycerins. I'm not sure what it is. Because I've also been I ran in the Ravenna, or it could just be a lot of the tempo shoes that I've like the faster shoes I've been running in. So I'm trying to figure out like what shoe it is that's bothering me because there's like my knee has been bothering me a little bit. About like 8 or 9 miles in, it'll start to feel like, oh, I've got like a little bit of pain in the knee, and it just feels like I can't stand on it a little bit, like I like it's um, unstable a little, and so like it just feels like a shin splint to me, and I think that it's either a shin splint or I think it's because I've been running in something that has a little bit of stability in it. Um, so Guido Moti says, what do you think about Boston? They will allow people to participate in the marathon or not? Will run it or not? I don't think that it's going to happen. I'm not, I mean, it's still, September is still a really far time away. But given that some of the earliest major like outbreaks of coronavirus in the US happened in Boston, I mean, at least on the East Coast, Boston got it earlier than New York did. I think Boston, it didn't get as bad as it did in New York, but Boston, I remember it being very early, and they like attributed, they were able to contact trace it down to like one specific convention. Um, so people traveling from different parts of the country and world coming into the city, and then like it's starting to spread from there. So I think that like that will be a problem. Um, EPMD, so so I don't think it'll happen. And if they did have it, I mean, if I did have it, would I run it? I mean, I currently have a hotel room booked. Um, whether I would run it would really depend. I can't envision. I don't know. Like I feel like if they felt comfortable running it, that means that like it's not a close call of whether or not it's safe. And so I felt like if they were felt comfortable running it, I would feel comfortable running it. But I don't know. EPMD. Sorry about. We got some sirens going on. We live close to the hospital over there, so there are sirens sometimes. EPMD says, "What's my favorite running event to watch in the Olympics?" I say probably the 200 meters because it's real short, and you get the bank, right? And I love the cameras that they have now that they put on like on the rails, and it just tracks the runners, and you could see them running the bank, and I just love that camera angle. Other than that, I wish that they would put like a really low one right over the lanes, so like as they were coming around the bank, you could see them coming. Like I would love to see that. Like they've kind of done something similar to that for the swimmers where you could see them like as the swimmers are coming in, there's a camera that like follows them in, and so like that's a really great angle too. Um, I think that because it's a track, and the stadiums are like custom built for the Olympics, I feel like it totally should be able to do that. Either that or just get a drone, fly a drone, or like the cable cameras like they do for the NFL. I would love to see that. I think that there's just so much room for progress in the way that like the Olympic events are filmed and broadcast that can make it so much more interesting to watch. But they're kind of like stuck in like a handful of views. Although lately, they have been getting so much better. I think that they've been practicing on things like the Diamond League events and other international track events. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they film it. Martha asks, Boston will not do an elite only event. They've already gone on record stating that to 2020 entrants, it wasn't considered. Oh, that's interesting to know. It's good to know. Um, yeah, I don't like the idea of doing like an elite only event. I can understand why Tokyo did it because it was like a very last minute change, but like yeah, I applaud that if they're saying like we want to run it for everyone or nobody. Gary Ugali says, "Hey Kofuzi, I was wondering what kind of music do you listen to while running? Any favorite band?" These days, because I'm doing a lot of easy running, I'm just listening to podcasts or audiobooks mostly. When I listen to music, sometimes I'm subscribed to Apple Music and I just do like the new music mix that they do for me. It's usually like a lot of rap and hip hop that's on it, and so I listen to a lot of that. Some of my favorites right now to listen to while running are Logic and NF. Those are the two artists that I probably like the most right now. But like on a broader like playlist, if I was gonna go for like a 2.5 hour or 3 hour run, the playlist that I have has like a lot of Linkin Park, Blink-182, Yellow Card, um, let's see, System of a Down. It gets getting angry a little bit. Muse, and lots of other hip hop artists as well. John Bryan says, "What's the best headphones you wore where it delivers with staying on your ears no matter what you do, water resistant and clear optimum sound?" I would say like a lot of those fit all of those categories except for staying on the ears no matter what. I sweat a lot, and so I need something with an ear loop, and so that's where I'm thinking Powerbeats Pro. I don't think that Powerbeats Pro are worth the $250 price, especially with some of the connectivity issues that I've had with it, and I think others have had as well. And I think at $250, the fact that it doesn't have pass-through audio on the mics is like a major swing and a miss. It needs to have that. So if there's a Powerbeats 2 Pro 2, I feel like that's a feature that will be on there. Um, but I do love the sound that's in there. It's a really great sound, and it stays on no matter what. Uh, Luis Claudio Costa says, "What do you do for fast recovery after a long run? Get a lot of sleep, drink a lot of liquid." Those are like my two things. That's why like in the merch store, like this is my foam roller, is a pillow, is because sleep is the best way to recover. And so that's kind of like what I think. I'm still massaging with this thing and also just kind of like getting in there and like massaging the muscle too, because my right hamstring is really tight. Um, Rick Vegas says, "Just got here, Michael. What's the yellow armband looking thing you have on your left arm from the Strava run this morning?" That is like a visibility armband. It has like a little LED strip in it or like a little LED light with a plastic piece in it that makes the whole thing light up. And so it has two modes. One is just like on, and it's on in like neon orange yellow, or it flashes. And so I usually leave it on flashing for when I'm out there running. I put it on my left arm because I usually run with traffic in the bike lane. And so that's the part that's closer to traffic. So that's hopefully the one that cars will see. Um, Hub Bubtub says, I am the non-elite poster child. Shirt looks cool. Awesome. Yeah, I've worn it to a whole bunch of races, and like it's the second time I've had that shirt out. I had it on the old Etsy shop as well, and some people have said that they still wear it, but I've gone through like three of them because I would wear them to a race and then just like how you have shirts that you pitch before like the race starts. I've been using them that way, and so like it's interesting. Sometimes I feel like it's a little aggressive to wear to a race, but like other times people are like, "Oh man, I like the shirt." So I think I've enjoyed them for a while, and I'm also like you. I'm the poster child for non-elite. Mr. D says, just ordered the Triumph 17 for my daily trainer, slightly heavier and new to running. I think it's going to be a great choice for you. I hope you really enjoy it. I've really liked the shoe a lot. Um, um, Goku Runner says, "What's the difference between your YouTube avatar and now?" Yeah, so like the YouTube avatar is the one that's like the poly art. It's like I basically took a picture and then traced it to make that using polygons to make it. And I think in that photo, I'm probably closer to like 170, and right now I'm closer to like 145, 140. Probably closer to 145 right now. And so, what's that math on that? 25 pounds. Yeah. My mom says that is so true because Stevie76 was wondering if I was a good kid or not. My mom says that is so true. You never made any trouble. You're a marvelous kid. That's very nice of you to say in front of everybody, Mom. I appreciate it. Yang Chang says, you are famous among some Chinese runners now. Awesome. Thanks for your video, which helped a lot. That's really cool. I appreciate that so much. And, I was actually just talking with my mom and dad on FaceTime the other day. And they were like remarking at like how far a lot of you guys are coming from to participate in the live streams, which I really appreciate and I love it. And I'm also amazed that you can participate in these conversations in another language, which is something that I probably couldn't do, not at least at a conversation at like this level. I mean, I could talk to people in Korean a little bit, but like, you know, not like talking about like running and stuff. So I appreciate that, and they were really impressed, and it surprises me and amazes me too. Vegan Goku coming in with the super chat. Thank you so much. He says, any lightweight waterproof running jacket recommendations? Thank you. Um, there's like lightweight running jackets, I think fall into kind of like two categories. Like one is like, do you really want to keep the water out? Like in terms of like waterproof, or do you just want to have like a rain layer that will kind of like shed the water a little bit, but if it's a downpour, you're going to get wet. There's a lot that I like in that category, in that second category, that's really lightweight. And like if it's lightly raining or moderately raining, it'll probably keep you dry. And if it does get wet, it'll dry quickly. And there's one from Roadrunner Sports, like their R Gear one that I like that I wore in the Adios 5 video and did the giveaway on that video. Um, but I also like cheap stuff from Uniqlo. So Uniqlo has like lightweight packable jackets. Like anything that's in that category is usually what I'll consider for a rain layer. Um, and I just also got a new pullover from Janji that's like a windbreaker layer that the top layer is a little bit thicker and it's water resistant but not waterproof. That one I also really like as well. For ones that are like if it's going to be a downpour and you're going to run out, then I'm like thinking more material that's like a raincoat. The downside being those tend to be really hot. And so if it's like a colder rain, that's when I'll wear those. And so I have another one from Uniqlo that's just kind of like their active wear rain jacket that I've run in quite a bit. And because it doesn't breathe all that much, you can wear that jacket in like colder rain weather and it'll be fine and it won't be too bulky. Because again, things that are bulky will get wet and soak up the water. And so like you don't want to do that because then that wetness with wind will just further chill you out. And so that's when you might want like a thicker, more rainproof layer. Other materials like Gore-Tex materials, like Arc'teryx jackets, I haven't tried, but like people just rave about them, and I'd like to try them a little bit more and investigate some of those materials as well. But these days, with everything that's going on and trying to avoid like too much inclement weather because I just don't want to put my body in a position where I might, catch cold, or just unnecessarily weaken the immune system. And so I'm kind of avoiding rain. So I don't know that I'll do a ton of testing of rain layers in the near future. So hopefully that helps though. But like, yeah, those are some of the things that I would look at. Trying to think of what other rain layers that I've had that I've liked. But I would say the Janji materials that I had are good. And then I have a winter running jacket from Kraft that has some water resistant elements on it. A little bit more expensive and designed for a little bit colder weather too, but another really great water layer. It's not waterproof, water resistant, but I think that most of the running stuff is going to be more in the water resistant category, so that way it could still breathe a little bit better. Um, let's see, we got scroll up a little bit. House says, if it's in your knee and feels unstable, I don't think it's a shin splint. Have you considered it? It might be a meniscal instability. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it is. It comes and goes, and it takes about an hour for it to show up. And so I've been trying to do a lot of easy running on it. I took yesterday like off and rode the bike a while in it, so that way, um, and so it's not so much like it's unstable. It's just kind of like it feels like my lower leg just loses horsepower, and I don't want to put weight on it, and I can't push off on it. So I'm not sure like what that means. But like the pain part of it isn't that painful. So that part reminds me of a shin splint. And I've taken Advil for it one time, and that like resolved it right away, which also kind of makes me. And I've iced it before, which also makes it much better afterwards. That's all like sounds like shin splint type stuff to me. It doesn't feel like IT band issue because it's not. I don't feel it anywhere on the lateral side. It's just kind of like in the front, but lower than the knee a little bit. So I don't know what it is. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's something I can continue running through because that's what I've been doing. But it doesn't usually bother me all that much, and so that's why I feel like it's like a weird thing that feels like it could be shoe related. So I'm trying to experiment with different shoes. Blitz Toff says, hey Kofuzi, what's your take with Garmin running watch? I noticed you and Seth both use Polar watch. By the way, love your channel. Thanks so much. Yeah, I like Garmin watches. They work really well. My first running watch was a Garmin. It was the Vivo Active 3, and I love that watch. Um, I just wish it had more buttons. And so I think that like lately it takes a long time for me to test a watch. And so it's not like shoes where I have a pretty good idea on a shoe after one run and then give me like, 15 runs and I know what the shoe is. Um, Whereas like a watch, there's just a lot more features to work with, and there's not only a device, but there's also like an operating system. And then there's a surrounding ecosystem in terms of like looking at your data and doing analytics on it. And so like there's a lot to cover. And so I've been in the Polar ecosystem for a little while and I've been really liking it. Love the buttons, love the way that I can look at the data. So I know what's going on with the Polar. With the Garmin, I've had some that are touchscreen, some that are not, and then like sometimes like I just with Garmin, and maybe it's because I'm used to Polar now, but even when I was running with Garmin and Apple Watch a lot, um, I feel like sometimes when I push a button, I don't know what that button's going to do. So I've accidentally ended activities many times on a Garmin watch before. Not that that's a huge deal, but that's happened before. So that's the only thing that I have with it is like the user interface isn't always my favorite. But I know lots of people use them, swear by them. I've had good experiences with them as well. It's just I'm running with Polar now and I like it. And I'm currently testing out on a long-term basis the Grit X. So I'm looking at that. So that's why that one is on my wrist every day. When I wasn't testing anything, I was running with the Vantage V, which I like very much. I like the buttons. I like the battery life. So those are just things that I like. I think I could probably find one in Garmin that I also like. I just haven't had enough time to test it. The next kind of watches that I'll probably dive into are Coros. So I'll be looking at those as well. John Bryan says, in Chicago, coronavirus started out at a potluck party. Really? And a funeral gathering. Whoa. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Not awesome, but it's very like fascinating to know. At both places, the contagion had no symptoms, who hugged and shook hands and shared food, serving utensils with people. Uh, yeah, that's crazy. Um, Yeah, that's hard. I mean, my wife has been working on me for like over a decade now into becoming a hugger, and now I hug people all the time. When we first met, I pretty much didn't like human contact, so hugging was and meeting her family was like everyone hugs all the time, and so that took some getting used to, and now I'm used to it, and I crave that kind of like human contact. Um, but that's I don't know. People aren't going to shake hands anymore. It's just going to be all Asian bowing from now on, I think. Michael Sandoval says, Kofuzi, Little Village in the house. Awesome. Good to see you. Bogdan Udria says, are you considering transitioning to or at least trying trail running in the future? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'll transition to because I don't live near trails, but, and I don't like to commute to exercise. So, like, what's around me is where I'll run. It's kind of how I feel about it. And if I don't like what's around me, then I need to change where I am, I think. Um, but like I like trail running. I just get really lost and I make a lot of bad decisions when I'm out there running. And so like I need to go to a place that's a little less dangerous than some of the places that I've been exploring lately. Like when I was in Phoenix, I got into some real trouble out there. Made some very poor decisions. Also forgot to bring lights and I was running at night. So that's another thing. But problems that I could fix. But I'm taking a little bit of a break from trail running right now, and I'm looking forward to getting back into it. Um, one of the trails that I run most frequently is it's not, I mean, I guess it's a trail. It's a converted rail line out in Iowa that I love running, and I usually run that all summer long. And last summer when we were out in Iowa, I found like some super hilly areas that were just absolutely beautiful out in the middle of nowhere that I'd love to go run again. But like, I don't know the next time we'd be going to Iowa because I just feel like if we did, I mean, we kind of stick out going to rural Iowa, being Chicagoans, and me looking not like rural Iowans. And if we were to go back to like from Chicago to Iowa now, I think people would be like, what are you bringing back here? So I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know when we'll go back. It's kind of like a hard conversation we've been having in our house because like the girls generally just, we pretty much just have them live at grandma's house all summer long. Let's see what else we got here. Um, 2 Test says your long run playlist could be straight out of my Spotify. I love it and the channel. Yeah, I do have a Kofuzi Run Club playlist. It's on Spotify. I think you could search for it and you can find it. I add to it from time to time. I don't add to it. I haven't added to it very, very long though. But then again, like I'm at the age where like my music preferences don't really change. And so like the stuff that's on there is what I want to listen to. Because I've been listening to Apple Music a lot lately, so I don't really listen to that much Spotify. So it hasn't been updated in a long time. Let's see. Cody Davis says, "Can't wait to rock the non-elite hat." I'm really looking forward to that. I was kind of like when I was designing it and putting it together, I was like, "This will be okay. This will be interesting." But then like I was like, "Yeah, I like the way that like the colors look on it, and it's not as like aggressive as like the orange and white. Although that's the whole point of the non-elite shirt, orange and white, is to be like really in your face about it. But I like having like a little bit more subtle. I think it's gonna be really cool. I like it." Um, Martha says the shirt is way too nice and fun to pitch. Like speaking of the non elite, and she goes to the thrift shop and buy a layer for $5 a toss and get redonated. Yeah, I mean that's a good. That's definitely something that's a great idea and something I've always like thought that I really need to do. And what I'd love to do is try and find something that's just really ridiculous. Like I'd love to be able to find like a Dumb and Dumber like purple and orange like leisure suits, like kind of thing, and like cut them in a way that I can like easily take them off, but like show up to the race in like a Dumb and Dumber tuxedo kind of thing. That would be amazing. Elias, uh, 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 alias Sexy Time says, "Why don't you work together with Jamie and get some merchandise, Janji, to get some merchandise?" Um, yeah, I mean, well, Janji gets me some stuff already, but I don't think they do any like branded, like co-branded stuff. But that would be interesting because they do make a singlet, and I've ridden a bike in it. It hasn't been warm enough for me to run in a singlet in Chicago yet, but I've ridden the bike in it, and on the bike it got just super wet and stayed soaked. But I wonder if it would dry out. So I'll test it out. Maybe we can do that. Um, Freddie Pulido says hi from Colombia. Good to see you. He's running. Awesome. And Gonzalo Espinoza says, "Hey, what's up, man? I did my first marathon in February and did 3 hours 44 minutes, and then I did Seth Damore's virtual marathon in 3 hours and 2 minutes. Whoa! All you do is run. Should you add weights to get better? Um, I would say if you're in an off season now, that's an amazing improvement. 42 minutes in the course of a couple of months. That's insane. Congratulations on that. To get better, should you add some weights? I think it depends on. I think that weights is for a lot of people, it's a good way to prevent injury. So like as they're adding mileage, I think adding weights is a good way to kind of like build up strength so that you're not adding mileage too fast or that your body can handle increase in mileage. But I also, for me, I feel like I'd rather just run more. I'd rather get to like a high mileage week because I know about my body that it responds well to high mileage. And so I want to get to the point where I can run high mileage and I don't want lifting weights to like interfere with that yet. But that being said, right now, since I'm not running high mileage and I'm in like off season mode, I have been incorporating a lot of strength, mostly body weight stuff because I don't like weights and I don't have weights. So body weight exercises is what I've been doing for leg strength, and that's why my hamstrings are sore today. Um, but so that's something that I like. I would kind of rather see people run more mileage or more with more consistency. Um, and then once they feel like you've figured out what's a good amount of weekly mileage for you in your marathon training, and then once your body is capable of handling that, and then can take on more, then think about weights. Then think about speed work. But get to the mileage, I think, first is kind of how I like to think of it. It's a little bit backwards than a lot of people like to think of it, but that's kind of I feel like those are nice like finishing things to have. But you need to have the base first. Other people call it like you have to bake the cake before you have put the icing on, right? And so I feel like the running is baking the cake. I feel like strength work, speed work, a lot of those other fancy things that look nice on Strava, that look nice in the Instagram posts. I think those are all icing, but you need to bake the cake first. That's how I feel about it. The other thing is, or if you are in an off season, even if you are still working on increasing mileage, then I think that strength training is something good that you can incorporate. So I think that's a good pace to end it for today. I've already taken it past kind of the 30 minutes. I try to limit it to 30 minutes just so that way I'm not rambling too much. And also that way I'm respectful of your guys' time and not taking up too much of your day. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you got some good foam rolling in, feeling nice and fresh so you can get out there again and run again tomorrow. That's all I have for today from Chicago. Hopefully you guys had good runs today or tomorrow and are staying safe. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.